In the early days of the pandemic, there were front porch sing-alongs and not an instrument rental to be found. Almost 2 years in, music has continued in all its many forms to be vital for many people coping with isolation and disruption. And to look at the output of some musicians, it's even meant thriving in these strange days. With us for their thoughts on how music shaped this second year of the pandemic, all of them in the provincial capital, starting in the West End in Etobicoke, let's welcome Samiko Wilson, a freelance culture writer. In the East End, Elamine Abdelmahmoud, culture writer at BuzzFeed News. And in the Annex, Megan Lapierre, staff writer at Exclaim magazine. And we're delighted to welcome you three onto TVO tonight. And just before we start here, Elamine, I've got to say, you look eerily familiar to an Elamine Abdelmahmoud who used to work here at TVO many years ago. Are you the same guy by chance?
Absolutely no relation. I don't know who you're talking about.
Okay, got it. Hi again, Elamine. It's nice to have you back on our airwaves.
Good to see you.
Having said that, you stand aside for a second because I'm going to talk to your friends first. Samiko, I'd like to know how you would describe your relationship with music in the year 2021.
Oh boy, where should I start? I think that music was such an incredible way to maintain a sense of normalcy during an entirely abnormal year. Not being able to attend shows was tough, but I think that it was a great way to stay connected with my friends, to kind of maintain the same cultural diet and feel connected to everything that was going on when we were so disconnected.
Megan, how about you?
Yeah, I totally echo all of Samiko's thoughts. And I think it's really interesting to think about the way the pandemic has sort of changed the daily experience of time, and the way we decorate it with music has definitely changed with that. And I think 2021 has been especially great because we moved a little bit past the nostalgia that comforted us in the early days of the pandemic and had more of an appetite for new music and discovering new artists to love.
Elamine, you get to bat cleanup here.
Well, I mean, like maybe I'll do a combo of those ideas, because for me, music was a way to mark time as we went through this year. You know, I remember January because I remember the Olivia Rodrigo album, and I remember August because I remember the really messy Kanye West rollout. Like for me, you know, because we're not really making a lot of new memories during this pandemic. The memories that I do have tend to be pop culture moments, and they tend to be music moments particularly, you know, like when a certain album entered my life, or when a certain, musician did something publicly that was really interesting to me. If it wasn't for music, I would have no idea what month it is. So happy birthday, Taylor Swift, you know?
Oh, right on. Okay, how old is she?
She's 32.
32 years old. Wonderful. I actually know who that is, just so you know, Elamine. I do know who Taylor Swift is. Even though we just had Mr. Sinatra's birthday, I think 106. I think it was 106th birthday a little while ago, just this past weekend. I do know who Taylor Swift is, though. Megan, follow up on that if you would. And that is, you know, one of the things we really needed music to do for us over the past 19 months in particular is to help us through the loneliness and the isolation of a COVID-19 pandemic in ways that were even more dramatic than say, music usually performs that role for us. Can you help us understand the role you think music played in that regard?
Yeah, I think it was huge for staying connected. And I think we often think of listening to music as kind of a solitary activity, but it's always connective, even if you're just connecting sort of one-sided to the artist you're listening to. I think it has been a huge source of comfort and bonding, even with the people already in your circle, with other people just, posting a song to their Instagram stories. I'm one of those people that actually clicks through and listens, and it can just open up the world to new forms of connection.
Samiko, was music even more important in the last 19 months than otherwise as it relates to isolation, loneliness, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. It makes me think of, there's like this psychotherapy exercise where it says like name 10 things you can see, 10 things you can feel, 10 things you can smell. And for me, it was like, name 10 songs you can listen to. What are 10 songs you like? It was a way of maintaining a sense of normalcy, for sure.
Elamine, how about you on that?
I guess I found myself, evoking space a lot as I was listening to music. As new albums came out, I started thinking about what would this album sound like in a room full of crowded people? What would it sound like as if I'm just like driving past a place or walking past a place and they're blasting these songs of this album? So for me, I sort of went to that imagining place. Like I can't imagine the Doja Cat album like not on the dance floor of some kind of club somewhere. It's really hard for me to imagine that. And so like listening to that solitarily made me have to go to like the imaginative space of saying, okay, where will this album actually sound best? What is this album designed to do? And that was strangely like a really warm, connective experience in the sense that you start thinking about outside of your immediate sort of environment.
Elamine, maybe follow up with this, and I'm really not trying to sound like all three of your fathers here, but but when I was your age, we used to do things called making a mixtape for somebody, and it was on a cassette. This is before CDs, and I gather nowadays you guys do this like Spotify blend feature or something where you all make playlists and then share playlists with each other. How I mean, I guess is it the same phenomenon basically as making a mixtape, Elamine?
Yeah, the same phenomenon, just way easier than you had it, Steve. So, we just have to add a playlist, add a song to, a playlist that you want. And so, like, I found myself, like, making playlists for some friends who are going through tough times, making playlists for friends who are saying, you know what, I've never heard of this artist. Can you get me into them? Can you figure out a way for me to get into them? And I was like, yes, of course, I can do that for you. I have a friend named Allie who, she's a runner, and she has been inviting me to constantly sort of make her running playlists, and I like get a lot of joy out of doing that. And it's just a way of saying, you know what, I took 25 minutes to think about you and think about an order of songs and then send them to you because I think these songs should play a role in your life. The songs are the vehicle, but the connection is the point, of course.
Okay, so Miko, explain this to me. There might be a different playlist for cooking, a different playlist for running, a different playlist for going for a walk in the park? I don't know. Is that how it works?
Absolutely. You need different vibes for different things. And I think that it's also a way to like, when we were isolated to the same space, it was a way to like mark different activities, mark different rituals. And also, I think that it was a great way to connect with like possible suitors. I know that on like dating apps, you can connect your Spotify or your Apple Music. And it was a cool way to see if people have the same taste as you.
Really? So that's how it works. You don't necessarily exchange pictures, you're exchanging playlists now. That's how you get to know about somebody?
Pictures and playlists.
Pictures and playlists. Okay, I got it.
Yes.
Megan, how about you? Did you make any playlists for friends this past year?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of my favorite things to do. But I also think playlists are a really cool way to discover new artists. One of my passion projects this year has been working on a playlist of new Canadian music releases every week called the A-List, which has introduced me to so many new artists that I am super passionate about. And I think, building off of what Samiko and Elohim said, it's so much about moods and finding music to suit whatever mood you're working with. And I think, we were a little bit more introspective in 2020 and 2021 and kind of got in touch with our emotions and our fluctuations more. And music was the perfect accompaniment to those oscillating rhythms.
Now, Samiko, I have a terrible confession to make here, which is I haven't made anybody else a playlist, or one for my own, for that matter, on Spotify this past year. And it may well be because I'm just, well, I don't know. Am I from a generation that just doesn't do these kinds of things? And if I am, what am I missing out on?
Well, given that you said you made mixtapes for people, I think that you were working out the same muscles you'd be using if you made a playlist. But I think it's a great release. It's a great way to connect with other people. And it's also, as Megan said, it's a great way to connect with new artists.
Are we, Elamine, missing out? Those of us who don't do this, are we missing out on something kind of significant and profound by not doing this?
First of all, I'm surprised that there are any of you left to begin with, but because like Spotify numbers are going up and up, like there's the user base has increased. A lot more people are using services like Apple Music and Spotify to share music with each other. There's a lot of family plans that are out there, like people who are sort of sharing a plan together for a premium subscription. So if you are among the few people who are not using a streaming service to share music with your family or with your friends, then I would say like there's just not that many of you left. So just by default, you're missing out.
Okay.
Just a pure numbers game.
Yeah. I'm just trying to understand. Was that an insult? I'm not sure. Or maybe I am sure.
Look, man, it's up to you. However you want to interpret it.
I gotcha. Megan, follow up on that if you would. Given that I'm a complete novice at this and have no idea how to do it, and you've known me now for all of 5 or 10 minutes, would you like to give me some advice on what kind of playlist I ought to put together for a particular mood? Or, I don't know, you tell me.
Well, where do we even begin? I think a lot of times if you're kind of feeling one song or album or artist, it makes sense to sort of move them into a space where you can connect them with other like songs and artists and just kind of keep that general vibe going. But at the same time, I also don't like things that are too one note. So you kind of put things together that make sense, but also have, sort of peaks and valleys in the playlist. It can be like a narrative in that way, and a really interesting way to even sort of remember a different period of time.
And Elamine, would it be a problem if none of the songs on the playlist was, say, written after 1980?
It wouldn't. Not at all. Not at all. I certainly have a lot of playlists that sort of are decade specific. Certainly some 60s playlists, some 70s playlists. So no, that's not a problem at all. But having said that, like I think that the main through line here is for you to curate a mood. Like you're trying to curate some kind of general vibe that you're going for, and like how certain songs fit together, or how they might be in a relationship with one another, even if they're not necessarily in the same mood.
Gotcha. Well, let's focus on Canada here and some of the Canadian artists that have really captured your attention in 2021. Elamine, start us off. In your view, how are they shaping the international music scene today?
I mean, honestly, I think probably my favorite album of the year was Mustafa's album. Mustafa, people know as Mustafa the Poet. He has done just some incredible work, and it's really nice to see him end up on some New York Times Best of the Year playlists and that kind of thing. So I would say that that's where I would start personally.
Sumiko, what starts off your list?
Oh my gosh, where should I start? I think that Emmanuel had an incredible album this year. He's an artist from London who last night was featured on HBO's Insecure. There's an artist from Vancouver named Boslin, who's kind of like, if you're into Travis Scott, he's a great continuation of that sonic narrative. And then there's an artist named Skyfall or Skiffall from Montreal, and he's like a UK drill derivative, which is so unique, so different, and so incredible.
Okay, Megan, what's on your list?
Topping my album of the year list was a band called Zolas from Vancouver. It was their fourth album, but they really sort of hit their stride on this one and everything came together. But there were so many amazing Canadian artists that released albums. We had The Weather Station, we had Cadence Weapon, we had Child. It was really a landmark year for Canadian artists sort of putting together a body of work that really stepped their games up.
Elamine, I saw the Arkells perform at the halftime show at the Grey Cup. Do I get any props for that at all?
You do, but only insofar as you are likely to watch anything that is Hamilton related. Arkells, of course, Hamilton's band, and so I guess it's kind of within your wheelhouse. It's within part of the job description of being a Hamiltonian. Makes sense for you.
So you're not giving me any extra credit for that, because I'm really not pushing at the edges of my comfort zone with that one, am I?
Not at all. It's the Grey Cup is in Hamilton. The Arkells are from Hamilton. This is a lot of Hamilton going on.
I get you. Okay. Sheldon, should we bring this up here? Should we bring this next graphic up? Let's talk about All Eyes on the North. And you'll be shocked to hear, I've heard of all these guys. Drake and Justin Bieber made it to Spotify's top 5 most streamed artists globally. How about that? Justin Bieber received 8 nominations for the 2022 Grammy Awards. The Weeknd is named Global Artist of the Year by the Apple Music Awards. And 17-year-old Tate McRae is among Forbes' 30 under 30 in the music category. Now, these are big-name folks, and everybody knows these guys. But Sumiko, I know you're into the R&B and the hip-hop and that kind of stuff. And let's show, again, Sheldon, let's bring this up here. Cover art for one of your articles for Complex. Talk to us about 2021 and how big a year it was for new artists in those genres in particular that you like to focus on.
Well, I think that hip hop and R&B in Canada sounded a lot different than it previously had. Before, it was a lot like sounding like Drake, to be frank. It was a lot like sounding like what had been popular and what had been cool. But this was less about like a return to form, as I said in that article, and more like elevating the game altogether. And I think that, like I said, artists like Skeefall did that very well. Artists like Pressa did that well, Smiley. And my top album of the year, which made it to #2 on Complex's list, was Certified Lover Boy by Drake. I am part of the small minority of people who were obsessed with that album.
Oh, I see head shaking. Elamine, what's wrong?
Oh, I just can't relate. I'm so sorry for you, Sumiko. I feel so terrible. I'm only saying this because that was, I think, for me, a sort of middle of the road Drake effort. It's got some bangers. It's got some songs that are like, why are we doing this still, Drake? And so that's just where I stood on that album. And so I was shaking my head, sort of mercifully thinking, hey, I'm off camera. I get to just sort of shake my head at this. But now I've been called out on it. So now I have to talk about how this album was, I'm so sorry to say, maybe the 4th best Drake album, 5th. I don't know. It's pretty low on the list for me.
Sumiko, do you want to convince him of the error of his ways?
Oh man, where should I start? I think that it was such a meta Drake album because I think that all Drake albums kind of continue the similar narrative. As I said in the piece that you showed previously, sorry. As I said in the piece that you showed previously, all Drake albums sound very similar. I think that like any song on any Drake album could be on any other Drake album and it would still be great. He knows what works and he sticks to it.
Megan, you want to break the tie on this?
Oh man, I feel unqualified to speak on this really, because I don't I'm just lost on the Drake narrative, honestly. I was in it and then I just sort of fell out of it. And this album, I don't think I made it all the way through, honestly.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, Sumiko. I'm sure there are redeeming qualities. I know. Shun me. Revoke my citizenship, honestly, but I mean, good for him.
Megan, what happened? That's a pretty serious diss. What happened there?
It's just a lot of the same now. Like Sumiko said, there is sort of a continuing narrative, which can be really interesting, but also get a little stale. And it's just, I'm waiting to get back on the bandwagon. I'm sure it'll happen.
Huh. Sumiko, what did you clearly hear in that album that your friends here did not?
Well, as I mentioned, I think that Drake knows what works and he sticks to it. But he also kind of knows what his fans want and sprinkles it into every single album. There were some club bangers like Way Too Sexy. He was a little revelatory on his personal life in the intro, Champagne Poetry. Elamine, you can't tell me that you didn't listen to Champagne Poetry and get full chills when the beat switched midway through. It was very cinematic, very theatrical. I likened the first song to like the opening number of a musical because it just felt very epic to me.
Listen, Drake knows how to open albums for sure. Drake knows how to put in some bangers. I think this album should have been maybe 7 songs shorter, and then it would have been some kind of narrative to be held and dealt with. And I say this as like a fan of the last record. I say this as a fan of Scorpion, which was like, it was sprawling, but also it explored all of his sides kind of fully. And then you get to this one, and it just like, as an album, it felt incoherent. And maybe the problems this album or Drake himself, maybe it's like the concept of the album. Like maybe we're moving away from the idea and the urgency of here's an album, here's a coherent thing from start to end. And Drake might be just kind of like reaching the edges of that. And he was also getting at something when, he named More Life as a playlist and not an album. Like to me, like, yeah, that makes sense. That is a strategic business move on his part that also reduces the expectations. But when you say, here's an album, I'm expecting like just something like a body of work that says something. And he himself has set his own bar, and he just didn't mean it for me.
Well, notwithstanding this disagreement over Drake, and of course we have the Biebs as well, and The Weeknd, they are all huge on the music scene. I do want to ask Megan about maybe some of the less appreciated or lesser known names from the past year who you think deserve some attention.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Like I said, I feel like it's been a year where we had an appetite for more new music than we previously did when we were sort of leaning on our comfort things. And So many up and coming Canadian artists were brought to my attention this year. Many of them sort of releasing debut projects, but not even all of them. Even some people further into their careers that I'm just like, how did I not know this before? But I loved. There's a band from Montreal called Afternoon Bike Ride. There's Ada Lee. There's so many Canadian artists that have just burst onto the scene, and I love finding out about new ones. Like I'm literally overwhelmed with names right now in my head, trying to think of people to say.
Gotcha. Well, okay, so Miko, maybe follow up on that by saying what are some of the qualities that you are seeing in artists who emerged over 2021?
I think that there's a global quality to all of the artists who emerged in 2021 because we weren't limited to just one sonic narrative in Canada. We were kind of like opened up to the entire world because the internet did that and we spent so much time online. So I think that they sounded a lot more international in 2021.
Okay, let's move on now and talk about the way in which we watched a lot of concerts this past year because, of course, until recently, we weren't allowed to go to concerts because they didn't have any. As a result, we watched a lot of concerts, be they of the kind of music that your generation listens to or maybe some of the stuff older generations listen to, online. And they were live, but they were online. And I want to know, Elamine, start us off here. Oh, somebody's desperately trying to make a cameo appearance in the background there. That's very cute. Whose dog is that, and what's his or her name?
It's my dog, Kitty.
Can she take a cue or what?
I am so sorry. She is being very unprofessional right now. It looks like she's being escorted out right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Not a problem. No, we got to hear her, which is nice, and maybe next time she'll grace us with an appearance on camera. That's fine.
She was backing me up on my thoughts on the Drake album.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very good. Elamine, start us off on this. The difference between going to a live concert and experiencing it that way versus how we sort of had to make do during the pandemic by watching live concerts on our screens. How did it work for you?
I have to say that when artists started offering live streamed concerts, I was genuinely really skeptical of the enterprise. I was like, what are we doing here? Like, nothing can really replace the feeling of live music, the feeling of people being in the room and interacting with the artists and how that is shaping the music and how they're playing their music. But then I bought a ticket to a live stream of my first virtual concert, which was Brandi Carlile earlier this year. And as I was watching it, I was like, you know what? This is an approximation of the real thing. This is an approximation of the feeling that I get because an artist is not playing through the studio version of their song. They're sort of feeling the song as they go, and I'm having an emotional reaction to that. It feels more intimate in a way because I'm not, it's the experience is not mediated through other people's reactions to the artist. But also, of course, something is missing, and like there's nothing that can replace live music. And so I'm happy to say that I've been back to a few, in-person concerts this fall, and my body's like, oh yes, this is what we remember. This is what we love. This is the thing that this is what we come here for.
So, Miko, how about you? The attempt to keep music going online, did it work for you?
So like Elamine, I was extremely skeptical. I didn't think it could work, but something called Versus emerged, and that did an excellent job of capturing the excitement of a live concert, but also capturing the community of it. Reading the Versus comments was probably one of the highlights of the pandemic for me. So funny. It felt so warm. It felt like you were watching it on the couch with your family. And it felt like a return to form. It felt like we were there live.
Just tell us a little bit more about Versus for those who don't know what it is.
Yeah, so Versus was started by Swiss Beats and Timbaland on Instagram, and it's where two big artists basically like fight to the death sonically on their discography, playing all of their greatest hits. And then I think that there's a voting element. I've never personally voted, but yeah, it's really fun. It's, I think, monthly, and yeah, it's been a great highlight this pandemic.
Megan, how about for you? Did the online, how far did it go in replacing the real thing?
Well, of course, there's no substitute. And while I was skeptical, I was also really sort of excited by the shift to live stream shows because there's always the accessibility element to consider. And as the pandemic went on, I feel like I saw more and more accessibility features added to these live stream concerts, like ASL captioning and things like that. All of it just made me rethink about, the privilege of getting to access live music spaces and how many of those aren't accessible to so many people. And, this was a great way to sort of reassess what we should be doing with live shows next.
Having said that, Elamine, did you get to a point, you yourself, where you thought, I just can't watch another concert online. I've got to get back into a music hall and see the real thing?
I mean, of course, eventually I got there, but I will have to say that like one of the highlights of the year was as Kanye West was rolling out his album, his ninth album, Donda. There was like this like huge moment where he did two different sort of live stream concerts. They're supposed to be listening parties. He's sort of showcasing the music. He's not even performing. He's just showcasing the music. And I found myself like really moved by those performances, really moved by getting to hear the music for the first time. You're essentially watching a stadium react to this stuff. And I thought like this could work. Like, there's certainly a future for live stream concerts that I think would get us excited. Just like the act of knowing that it's live. I don't think I would want to go back and watch something that is like, on demand, but I think like the idea of watching it as it unfolds live on your screen is something that is exciting. But then finally when the fall came and I was able to go to some concerts, I like, 2 notes into a guitar being played, I was like, oh no, nothing can replace this.
Right. Megan, have you been to any actual in-person concerts lately?
I have, and it has been such an interesting re-emerging into the culture. And I feel like I had kind of very different experiences I think I've been to 4 now. And just depending on the venue, depending on how many people were there, it's weird because it's not comfortable the way that it used to be. The first one I went to was the big Arkells comeback show in Toronto this summer. And I was so uncomfortable when I first got there. And even just throughout, it was so weird to be surrounded by this many people. But at the same time, there were moments where I was able to completely forget about that and just be like, oh yeah, I remember now, this is the zone that I want to be in. And this is something special that I don't know if live streams can quite touch. But yeah, it's been really amazing getting to come back to live music, even though it doesn't feel the exact same to me anymore. I have to be honest. There's an added layer of sort of caution that wasn't there before.
Well, of course. I mean, if you look around and you see a whole bunch of people with masks on, it's a different experience. Well, Sumiko, I should ask you, have you been to any in-person concerts of late?
I went to my first one last Tuesday. I saw Emmanuel, who I mentioned earlier, the artist from London, and it was incredible. Megan, it also took me a really long time to take my mask down, but once I did, it was so amazing to see hundreds of people gathered to see this artist performing for the first time, this project that he created during the pandemic. It was incomparable.
What venue was it at?
It was at what was formerly the Mod Club. I don't know what the new name is, but it was, I believe, like 600 or 700 people packed in there to see this artist from London. It was so special.
And did they keep their masks on, the people in there?
Honestly, no, which was terrifying for me.
Elamine, how about you? People masking up when they go to shows?
Well, it's funny that Megan mentioned that Arkells concert. I was at that Arkells concert, and it was my first show back. It was everybody's first show back. I think it was like right after they relaxed the regulations in terms of gatherings and public concerts. And it was an outdoor show, and it's for the first few songs as the Arkells come on, the folks who are not wearing their masks. All I can think about is like there are a lot of droplets flying around everywhere, man. But then I think like maybe you get to the second or third song and you just kind of relax into the music and you let yourself enjoy the show. But I think the fact that warning has to come up at the beginning is just like it's unnatural. It's just like natural. It can't be avoided.
Did you ever, Elamine, get to the point where you were able to forget about the fact that you were surrounded by a lot of potentially unmasked people in the middle of a global pandemic? Could you shut all that out and just really get into the music?
I could, yes, but also I completely could see that how other people could not. I can't. That is not a universalizable experience. You can't expect music to do the same thing for everybody there. But for me personally, yes, I could.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm just a little bit surprised that not one of you mentioned what was clearly the musical event of the past year, 2021. And Elamine's smiling. You don't know what I'm going to say yet. You don't know.
I don't.
You can probably guess, though. I thought Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga were absolutely scrumtralescent together, and that one was just one for the ages. And if you didn't see it, you should go find it somewhere, because it'll just make you cry to see a 95-year-old man with Alzheimer's who really can't function in the rest of his world get on stage and be transported back 20, 30, 40, 50 years and knows all the lyrics, and she's amazing, and that really was just spectacular. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on this. I want to thank Sumiko Wilson and Megan Lapierre and Elamine Abdelmahmoud for joining us on TVO tonight for this great look back at music in 2021. Thanks so much, you three.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.